What's going on? It's the Black Business Cowboy coming back to you with my basics of budgeting quick course. I'm going to run you through very quickly how I think about budgeting, how I use it in my life, and hopefully demystify it and decomplex it for you, if that's even a word. So let's dive right in. So why do you need a budget? And there's three reasons why I think that you need a budget. Number one, you need a game. Number two, you need a scoreboard. And number three, you need a game plan. So by you need a game is you need to know what you're playing and what are the rules. And then I say you need a scoreboard. You need to know how is progress tracked in the game and how do you know if you've won or if you've achieved your desired outcome in the end of the game. Number three, you need a game plan knowing that I'm going to guard here. I know what game I'm playing. I know how score is kept. Now I need to know how I'm going to go about it to achieve my desired outcome. Let's get rid of this down here. So what do you need to know? You need to know what's the goal, who are the players, what do they do, what are they good at, and what's the score. So what's the goal? That's simple. Where are you heading? So if we're thinking about basketball, the goal is to end up at the end of regulation with more points than your opponent. And if you do that, you've won. Then you have to know who are the players. And I don't mean specific names, I mean types. So again, let's stick with basketball. You have point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. They each have a different role historically in the game. They have different skill sets they've historically been good at. So your point guard is good at, they're usually fast. They're good at preventing the other team from getting out on the fast break and scoring. They're good at handling the ball. They're good at distributing the ball. Typically, your two player, your shooting guard, they were the best at getting the ball in the hoop. They can shoot. Number three, you have your small forward. They're a little bit big, but they also have the skills of some of the guards, maybe speed or ball handling or scoring. Then you have your power forward. Bigger guy, he's good at getting rebounds. He's good at scoring near the goal. He's good at keeping people from penetrating into the lane and scoring too easily. And then you have your center. Usually your biggest guy on the floor, usually very tall, very strong, not as fast as the other players, but is still a dominating force in getting very close up baskets, getting close up rebounds, keeping people from scoring too near the goal, things of that nature. So then we just described who are the players. So in basketball, there's 5 player types, and we describe what they do, and we just describe what they're good at. So then the last thing is you have to know what's the score. So in basketball, all you have to do is look up at the scoreboard, and you see, hey, it's 50 to 55, and we're down by 5, so I need to go score at least 6 points before they score another point. Or I have, this is a score, there's how much time left, so I know what I need to do in a given amount of time to achieve my goal. So when you're making a goal for your budget, it needs to be time bound. I generally like to tell people, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, maybe 2 years. That's a good goal to say I'm starting where I'm starting. And at the end of this time period, I want to be at a certain place. So you have a specific outcome saying maybe you want to say in 12 months, I want to pay off all my credit cards. Well, let that be your focus. Keep things simple. Keep things very specific. It needs to be meaningful. And this is a personal reason, meaning if I'm able to pay off all my credit cards in 1 year, that will take stress off of me. That will help my credit score improve. That will help me just sleep a little bit better at night. I'll be able to get that job that maybe I don't have the credit for. I'll be able to leverage my credit instead of for liabilities for assets. Maybe starting a business. Maybe just having it as an emergency in case something comes up. I know I have that credit available to me, worst case, to utilize for something more meaningful than maybe for the purposes I've used it in the past. And then it needs to be reasonable. That's the fourth thing. So what I mean by that is you need to actually be able to believe. Now, it shouldn't be so small to where you can go do it tomorrow, but it shouldn't be so big and so out there that you don't believe that you can even do it. Because if you don't believe that it's possible for you, you won't really do the work consistently. You won't discipline yourself. Meaning discipline means give yourself a command and follow through, and consistency is just how often you're disciplined. So if you don't believe it, you won't be disciplined and you won't be consistent. You'll never get started and you'll never keep up with it. Let's move on to the next slide. So here are some of the players that I want you to consider for this budget. The coach, your fixed inflow, your variable inflow, your fixed outflow, and your variable outflow. We'll get into what all these players do now. So the coach, they have the game plan, they do the monitoring, they set the goals. And guess what? You're the coach. So you know where you want to get. You're going to monitor your inflows and your outflows. You're going to monitor things, and you're going to have the game plan of what to do with your dollars, what to do with your income, what to do with your expenses, what adds value to your life, what's important. You're the coach. You're in charge. Next, you have fixed inflow. And this is income that you can count on. So this may be salaries from your jobs, wages from your jobs, annuities, meaning you've made some investment that's going to pay you on a consistent and reliable basis. Pensions, maybe you're retired, maybe it's a retirement account, but any predictable, stable source of income that you can count on. Those are your fixed inflows. Next, you have your variable inflows. And this is income that varies but still counts. So maybe you're in sales, you get commission. So the more you sell, the more income that you can count on. You're earning it. Maybe it's dividends, meaning you've invested into some stock or into some business, and it pays you a dividend or distribution every so often based on how that company or that investment performs. Next, you have inheritances. This is something people don't like to talk about, but death is as much a part of life as life itself. And sometimes when people pass on, you will inherit wealth or assets from them that you can count as variable inflow or income into your life. Gifts. So this could be your birthday money, your Christmas money, your just because money, your whatever someone gave you a gift for. That's income that's not consistent. You can't rely on it. But hey, it still counts and it's nice to have in achieving your goals and anything else of that nature. Next, you have your fixed outflow. And these are your normal recurring expenses. So these are the expenses that more or less every month are about the same. So this is going to be like your mortgage. You got to live somewhere, and that usually is either fixed by a mortgage or fixed by a leasing contract. So your rent, your car payment. Let's say you got a $20,000 car that costs you $400 a month. Well, you got to pay that $400 every month if you want to maintain that vehicle. Insurance. It could be health insurance, car insurance, renters, homeowners insurance, whatever. I think also, property taxes if you own your home. That's a pretty fixed, outflow at least for the next 12 months, depending on how your state handles property taxes. So any normal recurring expense would be your fixed outflow. Next, you have your variable outflow. So these are non-recurring or volatile expenses. So like your credit card payment. This is why I separate it from your fixed outflow. It's going to feel fixed because maybe you've been making a minimum payment for the last 5 years every month. But guess what? If you pay that credit card off, that payment's going to go away. And also, as you pay your credit card down, that minimum payment will shift. You can put more into it. You can put less into it. It varies month to month. Emergencies. This is what I would consider a volatile expense. So let's say you're healthy, then one day you have to go to the ER because you broke your leg and you don't have insurance, or you have to come up with a copay. That's $2,000, but you're probably not going to break your leg every month. But these are still expenses. Sometimes you can control them, sometimes you can't, which leads into the next point, discretionary. This is going to be entertainment, going out with friends, drinking, anything that's outside the necessities of your life that maybe add color and fun to your life, but are not necessarily necessary. So some months you might spend $100 going out. Some months you might spend $1,000 or $3,000 going out. But it's in your control and it's not necessary. It doesn't recur every month at the same level. You could eat in every day and not go out at all, and then that would be very low. You could eat out every day, go out every day, and that number could be very high. So anything that's variable, it's non-recurring, it's volatile, it's your choice. These are your variable outflows. Then time bound. So going back to the start, when will you start your budget activity? Meaning you're going to be more intentional and mindful about your spending. And then where will you be in 12 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever you want. So as a note says, flex this time where you desire. You get to decide. You're the coach. You get to decide how long the game is. What are the specific outcomes of that time period? So you want to be. It needs to be important to you. It needs to be measurable. So maybe you want to be debt free. Well, when you're debt free because it will show up. You don't have any debt. Maybe it's to have an emergency fund. Maybe you want to have 20 grand saved up in a year. That's something, you could open up another savings account, a checking account, and send money over there and act like you don't have it. And then once it hits 20,000, you're there. So any specific thing of this nature that's important to you, that's measurable, let that be the goal of your budget. It needs to be meaningful. So just to rehash this, the reason is personal. What problems will the former financial outcome solve? So when you achieve this, what problem has been solved in your life? And, it could be as simple as I just don't want to have that, or, me not being responsible with my finances is causing me so much stress. It's preventing me from being able to do the things I want to do. Maybe it's spend more time with your family. Maybe it's start a business, grow a business. Maybe it's to sleep a little better at night. Maybe it's knowing that if I have $1,000 expense, I need to come up with cash quick, that I have that cash on hand, either in physical cash or in my checking account, on my debit card, or on a credit card, or whatever, and I know I can pay it off right away. So it needs to be meaningful and personal to you. It needs to be reasonable again. Do you believe you can do it? And are you willing to do as required to get it done? That's really the only two questions you have to answer. So you've answered all the important stuff now. We've covered it. Now it's time to build the budget. Want to go over a few things. It's easier than you think, and there's no one right way to do it. So I'm going to show you how I like to do it. I'm going to make some suggestions of things I've seen other people do that work well for them, but it's a matter of doing what works for you, what makes sense for you, and what you can keep up with. So there's generally kind of three ways I've seen it done: the paper, physical methods, doing something in a spreadsheet like Google Sheets or an Excel or in an app. So in the paper, physical, it could be as simple as having a notebook and you're going to say, I make a certain amount of money. Here's where I think my expenses are. Here's the delta. Maybe I broke an even. Maybe I'm in a little surplus. Maybe I'm in a little deficit. But hey, if it just writing it down works for you, do that. I've seen other people do the envelope method, and you can get on YouTube and search this. I'm not going to go through it in depth here. But you could say, hey, I know that I'm only going to allow myself to spend a certain amount of money on certain categories. You put that amount of cash in those envelopes, and once that envelope is empty, you're done. You can't do anymore. So if you say, I want to spend $100 going out, well, put $100 in an envelope, and you can spend it all at once, or you can spend a little bit every day. But once it's done and gone, you're done and gone for that time period, for that month, for that week, or whatever, however you decide to set it up. The next one is spreadsheets. This was what I like. So my background is I'm an engineer. I spent most of my professional life and college life dealing in spreadsheets. So I'm comfortable in that tool. So that's where I like to build my budgets. And I'm going to go through an example. So the two most popular tools for that are Excel, Microsoft Excel, or Google Sheets. Then there's apps such as YNAB, that's You Need a Budget. There's Mint, there's Every Dollar. If you just get on, your phone or online and you put in budget apps, there'll be so many that pop up. These are three of the more popular ones I've used in the past or experimented with, or I've seen other people use that work well for them. But again, you just experiment, you pick your favorite. They have some advantages, such as you can automate a lot of things, like link your accounts, you can link credit cards. That way it's keeping up with where the spending is going and categorizing and building you all sorts of pretty charts. What I found in my experience is that when I did it that way, I tended to take my eye off the ball because the automation was taking too care too much for me, then I would kind of forget about it. So for me, it wasn't useful. Or maybe I didn't want to see notifications. I silence it, do that for 3-4 days, and I forgot all about why I was budgeting. But when I, set an event on my calendar, do my spreadsheet, I have to go through. It's something about that little extra effort and friction for me that makes it stick. So that's what I like. But hey, do what works for you. That's all I'm ever going to recommend. So next, I'm going to go over how I do this in a spreadsheet a bit on the next video. So I appreciate all of your attention so far. If you could do me a favor, follow the Black Business Cowboy so I can keep giving you more content like this. Let me know what you thought of it. And hey, I'll see you again soon. You have a good one.